got to see a pretty cool layout of the entire land where all the stories happen that we were familiar with in the Bible. We're walking on the road going up to the place where David and Goliath fought.
We're gonna go to a facility now that's run by ex-IDF Special Forces.
Move back, 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 back! Get back!
Good morning, it's our second day here in Israel, and we're gonna start making more of a connection between the biblical, historical Israel and what's happening today in modern day Israel and the kind of miracle of that. Get dizzy.
So our tour guide took us to, it's a memorial now that they've put there because there was a battle there called Haradar. Probably a 3 or 4 story tower with a 360-degree panoramic view of Israel. You can see, literally, you can see Jerusalem on one side and you can look over and see Tel Aviv on the other.
This right here is our tour guide, Suri. He's gonna tell us what we're doing up here.
This specific hill was actually a battlefield between the Israeli forces and the Jordanian army. During the 6 Days War, this is when the Israeli army was able to take over, and since then it's under an Israeli control. That's why you see all those tanks down below us and vehicles and bunkers. It was all part of that kind of an army base.
I was up in that tower and you can see like all over Israel. And he's like pointing out like where this story happened, where that story happened.
The purpose that I brought you up here is to be able to see the landscape around us and understand maybe a little bit how complicated it is when we are talking about the West Bank.
When I first came to Israel, I feel like I had some sort of understanding of like, here's what's going on. You know, like I see it on TV and I understand like, okay, these people hate those people hate, and they're just shooting each other and it's just like chaos everywhere. And then I come here and I'm like, oh, that's not really what's happening at all. You know, we see like Arabs, like millions of Arabs actually supporting the Israel state and living under that willingly and fellowship and harmony. That to me was like refreshing, and it like just reminded me that not everything I hear is exactly the full story.
That's right.
Yeah.
In 1947, the UN decided to divide this region, okay, to 2 countries, 2 states, an Arab state and a Jewish state.
We got to see a pretty cool layout of the entire land where all the stories happen that we were familiar with in the Bible. It's all like so much closer together than I thought it was. We're used to being in cars, and I forget that here they're all on foot. So when the Bible talks about them going from like point A to point B, it's like going from one side of a neighborhood to another side of the neighborhood. That's where we were. We were just at the top there looking around. So over everything, pretty cool. Up next, we're doing something that you probably don't normally get to do on a Bible tour.
We're gonna go to a facility now that's run by ex-IDF Special Forces and shoot the latest military-grade weapons in Israel with some former IDF Special Forces. So let's see you do that on your next Bible tour in Israel, right? So the big story today was Caliber 3. It was definitely not at all what I was expecting. When we talked about it, it was like we're going to a shooting range to shoot weapons. And before I know it, I'm in the middle of counterterrorism training drills with former IDF counter-terrorist soldiers.
My first impression when we walked in was like, okay, we're just gonna shoot some guns, you know? Like, I've been to a target range before, like, whatever. And I'm like, oh, this is different, you know?
Okay, what happened? What protected you? Who protected you? What's his name?
This gentleman right here.
What's his name? So you don't have no idea what his name is, you have no idea who he is. So why would some random person step in front of the person, then shoot the terrorist, when we can easily shoot the terrorist from over here? So what's going to drive us to do this is the morals and values under which we operate. The same morals and values that you guys would be willing to put your life on the line for your family. Here in Israel, we treat every single person as family. It doesn't make a difference who they are. It doesn't make a difference what religion they follow.
Move back, 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 back.
Get back! Guys, shoot him or not? Why not?
Neutralized.
Guys, 100%. Guys, once the terrorist is neutralized, this end of story.
The first thing that they teach you and train is preservation of life, of everybody. So it's never like, oh, let's go take the terrorists down. Obviously, they have to act quickly and accurately, et cetera, et cetera. But the thing that's really behind all of it is this strong desire to preserve life.
The IDF is the most moral army in all over the world. Now, what makes the IDF the most moral army in all over the world? We are here to make sure that every single person in the state of Israel is safe and protected. We're here to make sure that anybody can come into this country, walk around, enjoy every aspect about this country without a care in the world. Because there are soldiers up all night, all day, making sure that this country is safe and protected. Nobody's going to ask you if you're Jewish. Nobody's going to ask you if you're Muslim or Christian in order to protect you. Our goal is to make sure that every single person in the state of Israel is safe and protected. End of story. We are the Israeli Defense Forces.
I told you he's a protection dog, right? Not an attack dog. First of all, an attack dog, when they see the guy in the suit, you know what they do? Attack. They attack. That's all they've been trained to do. They see the suit, they make the connection, run in. This dog doesn't really seem to be wanting to do much of anything. There's no reason to attack this guy. We have to assess the situation, make a decision, and act. That's exactly what the dog is doing. Now I want to move this up. I'm going to move this up a level. This time they've identified him as suspicious. There is no set rule for suspicious except for two things: out of time and out of place. Somebody does not fit the time. Summertime, heavy jacket. Okay? Something is wrong there. Okay? Out of place. Doesn't belong here. So we're not going to do a body search. Okay? Who reacted first here? The dog, you saw. Did anybody say anything to the dog? So far, not a word. I told you, he analyzed the situation, made a decision, acted. Now you're also seeing teamwork. The dog on one side, the soldier on the other side, keeping no longer a suspect, he's now terrorist down on the ground. We clear them out as fast as we can. We don't want them to be here.
We just did a lot of drills and running around. We weren't actually allowed to film all of it, or any of it really, because it's like an actual facility they use for training. But now we get, now that we're all done, the trainings and the running around, the craziness, and fighting terrorists, now we are able to actually take some pictures. So that's what we're up to now, taking some pictures with the guns.
So tell me, what is the soldier in the IDF in full uniform doing on the train tracks to Auschwitz-Birkenau? Didn't we say never again? By never again, did we mean never to go back to that cursed place? Or did we mean what happened 75 years ago is never going to happen ever again?
We're having lunch with the Israeli Defense Forces. They prepared a nice Israeli lunch for us.
If you think that Caliber 3 is just a shooting range, you guys are mistaken. Caliber 3 is the largest and most professional counter-terror academy here in the state of Israel.
The reason we went to Caliber 3 today was because we want people to experience not only the biblical and historical significance of Israel, but we actually want to connect people to the modern day story. And the IDF, the Israel Defense Force, is just a major part of that story because of how safe they keep this country and how well they've defended this country from multiple attacks from just about every country surrounding this nation. And we want people to see that. We want people to interact, hear the details, and get a glimpse behind the scenes, because it's the story of modern Israel.
A lot of these guys actually train out here. They do like forest training over here, like woods, and then they have like all these different environments and all these hills that they train for special operations. All right, now we're going back to some biblical stuff, I think. We're leaving our van back here. We're walking on the road, going up to the place where David and Goliath fought. This is one of the hills right here. And I think the valley is up in front of us.
I thought it was really neat that right when we got done with this counter-terror training, we sort of drive down off the hilltop and down into a valley where one of the most colossal battles of biblical history took place, the Valley of Elah.
This is the actual spot here, that valley that is running all around. We're dealing here with the story, the famous story of David and Goliath. The moment that David is walking down and challenging the giant and Saul stays up there, this is the real moment that the kingdom was taken from Saul. Of course, David already knew, he was already anointed to be king, and Saul already understood that David will probably be the future king.
This is what used to be the brook, the stream that David would have picked 5 smooth stones from before he went up to fight Goliath. Israel was up on this mountain over here, and the Philistines were up over on this mountain over here. And so this is where Goliath would have come down, somewhere around here. David would have gotten stones in the stream. It would have met like somewhere right over there.
To me, that was very meaningful, and of course, then hearing the story of you know, the Israelites and the Philistines and David's role and coming down and actually being able to see all of that unfold right before your eyes. To me, that was just a deep moment for me. Yeah.
Got my 5 smooth stones. I gotta wash them off because they're pretty dirty, but got them. Take them home to the kids.
This is a community very unique in Israel. It's a very special place called Yad HaShmona, and we're about to hear all about the history of how it was founded. And it's the only community of this type in the entire country, and has a very, very rich special heritage.
It's actually where our tour guide said he lives.
The type of a village, it's a communal village. The concept of those groups that were joining together, what we call a kibbutz, was to form a village with a lot of, I would say, socialism concept behind it, meaning that we're all equal, we all share everything we have together, we all work together, each of one of us is doing the best he can.
At Yad HaShmona, they have like a biblical garden where you can go through all these different models of things that you could experience around Jerusalem, around Israel, but it's like all in one spot.
We're going into a tomb.
But this is a burial cave, like we have seen in Jerusalem. Everything that you see here, even though the cave itself is not original, we built it to look old, all the rest is real. Everything else was given to us by the Ministry of Antiquities, and it looks quite new. So it's really amazing to see things like that we have around Israel.
It's a pretty cool place, isn't it, guys? Like, there's so much to learn and like experience, and it's like these are actually like real people that lived and experienced a lot of these things, not just like made up stories that we hear about in church, you know?
Over here what we see, it's a ritual bath, what we call mikveh.
Going from each model to each model, like hearing the story about this is why it's significant to Jewish faith. The one that I appreciated the most is the wine press. Like I've heard the story, like, you know, they stomp on them and like the juice comes out and everything. But then to like see that process and then go next to like the olive process and seeing the big stones that they would use to like crush the olives, like in the weight to go like level 1, level 2, level 3. And I was like, woo!
They collect all the olives, they bring them back then to such a place. This is an olive press. They have a donkey over here that is walking in circles, and then this stone is rolling around and crashing all those olives.
One of the really spectacular things about that biblical garden is to be able to see right in front of you that it was really practical things that took place every day. So you could actually just picture, you know, Yeshua or whoever was doing the teaching walking by, and as they're walking by a vineyard, he just starts on a teaching. As they're walking by a wine press, they just start on a teaching. And it really sort of brings all of that home in a very special and unique way.
The next step in our journey tomorrow is to continue to connect Israel's history and their past with what's happening today, and now even looking forward to what's happening in the future. So tomorrow we're going going to a lot of very important, significant sites here. Their Knesset, which is their parliament, and to their Supreme Court, and to some other museums that I think are really going to influence the whole overarching story of Israel as I've seen it so far. So I'm looking forward to that, and I want you guys to join us. If this is your first time here at my YouTube channel, welcome. Click that subscribe button. We're not always about Israeli stuff. It's usually about my wife and cute kids hanging out and doing stuff. But right now I'm over here and they're back home. So subscribe, and we'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.